In the heat of the slopes, it is not uncommon to see emotions at the top of your skin. Between centimetric disputes, controversial decisions, and post-race interviews filled with adrenaline, the language of drivers often exceeds protocol. But from 2025, swearing and other behaviours considered offensive will have a new weight behind the scenes of Formula One and in other world categories. The International Motor Racing Federation, FIA, has announced major changes to the famous Appendix B of the International Sports Code, and the impacts promise to be extensive. So far, penalties for misconduct, such as low-level words or aggressive gestures, have often resulted in heavy fines. However, the lack of clear criteria as to when a bad word would be punished or ignored has caused enormous discomfort among drivers. One example was the case of Adrian Formeau, fined after the Sweden rally, while the British Dan Ticktum escaped unharmed after dropping a few indiscretions at the Prix in Jeddah. This lack of standard in decisions raised criticism on and off the tracks, culminating in a review process led by FIA President Mohammed Ben Sulayem himself. The central point of the interview conducted by the specialised newspaper was precisely to understand why now, after so much controversy, the entity decided to act. Sulayem, who has a track record as a former rally driver, was direct. "I know the intensity of emotions in a race, therefore we lead a thorough review, listening to the 7 world championships and representatives of clubs and federations. We need balance to protect sportsmanship and respect freedom of expression." The speech of the leader gives the tone of a reform that promises to change the behaviour of the protagonists of the category. Among the most important changes is the reduction of fines. Now, the base for offences as offensive language is €5,000, about R31,000, well below previous values. On the other hand, there is the introduction of more severe punishments in sports terms, including grid positions, especially for repeat offenders or those who cross limits during official interviews and controlled environments. Spontaneous outbursts on the radio or track, considered uncontrolled environments, will have more flexible treatment as long as they do not involve personal attacks or incitement to violence. Gary Connolly, chairman of the Formula One commissioners, also spoke to the press and brought relief to those who feared overly rigid decisions. The new version of Appendix B ensures that commissioners can act with discernment. We will continue to analyse case by case, considering mitigating factors and the emotional situation of the driver. The goal is not to censor, but to preserve the competitive spirit in a fair and accessible way for all ages. Another important point highlighted in the interview was the hardening in combating racist and discriminatory offences, now with punishments guaranteed directly in the regulation, without room for subjective interpretations. In addition, any abuse of FIA members, whether verbal or physical, will lead to more severe sports sanctions, such as loss of grid positions or even disqualification, rather than mere fines. And do you think this measure will help to further professionalise Formula One and protect the image of motor racing? Or does it risk limiting the spontaneity of drivers and the entertainment of fans? Comment below what you think about this new chapter in the relationship between sport and emotion. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more exclusive content and analysis of the Formula One universe.